Stack Strategies founder and principal. She was an advisor to former Speaker of the House John Boehner, which is important given all the negotiating that is going to be needed here on the House on the Republican side. Thank you so much for being here, Maura. Let's start off with these two full screens to show our viewers what we've seen here. President Trump batting 100, perfect. He's pitching a perfect game, 16 for 16 here on confirmations. And now he's got Kash Patel coming up for confirmation, as our Chad Pergram said this week. It seems like Lori Chavez DeRemer as his pick for Labor Secretary, who is pro-union, though, could be an issue for Republicans. What are your thoughts on the remaining confirmation battles ahead and the fact that the president has gone 16 for 16?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Brian. So I think one thing is important is the behind-the-scenes conversations that are happening and the role that J.D. Vance and others in the Trump White House are playing in giving some of these senators the assurances. And so I think in the case of Tulsi Gabbard, a lot of senators were right to have concerns and probably still do, but they end up voting for her because they trust the Trump White House more than they trust her. So giving her their vote is really giving Trump their vote and saying, okay, we stand with you. We'll pass this one through. I think for the ones that are coming up, Kash Patel, there's been some concerns about whether he's already directing things that's going on at the FBI. So I think that some senators will certainly want to have more clarity there. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But again, I do think a lot of the real work and conversations that are happening behind the scenes and trying to qualm some of those concerns that senators may have.
Now, you talk about those behind-the-scenes conversations. Now we really talk about a situation here where we can see a battle among Republicans, and that is about the budget and the fact that the president wants this one big, beautiful bill to take care of tax reform, defense, energy, all of it. The House budget coming out with House Republicans coming out with $4.5 trillion here in tax cuts and $2 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years. Now this goes to the House floor for a vote. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, can only afford to lose one Republican to get the 218 votes he needs. What do you make of the likelihood that that can happen here by the end of the month?
I do think it was impressive that they were able to get it out of budget. I think there were a lot of doubters that they would even be able to get to that point. But I do think, in the words of Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith, it's a good starting point, but that there needs to be more to it because I don't think that what they currently put out is going to be able to cover all the president and the White House wants to accomplish. So there's still a lot more to be done. And I think that's where you'll have these amendment process and the Senate side kind of countering as well. But I do think that doing it in one bill is their best chance because the majority is so slim on both the House side and the Senate side. So it's really important that they corral all the members to support the ultimate bill and get it across the finish line.
On the one hand, you have Republicans like Nicole Maliotakis saying, look, I don't think we're going to be able to pay for all the promises, the tax cuts on tax relief on tips and overtime and Social Security benefits with this type of budget. And you have another Republican that's saying, well, hold on. This is Rob Bressenhan of Pennsylvania. He's a moderate Republican saying we can't be cutting benefits like Medicaid and SNAP for my constituents. So what do you think is the biggest sticking point here when it comes to this negotiation? Is it the cutting of benefits for folks, the Medicaid, for instance?
I think that is a concern, and it's a concern for President Trump as well when it comes to people who supported him. There are a lot of people in this country, Republicans, Democrats alike, who rely on that aid. And so, yes, is there a way to do things better and streamline the process for both Medicare and Medicaid? Absolutely. We can find those fraud, waste, and abuse and roll back some of those deficits we have because those programs, especially in Medicare, it's ballooning and those costs need to come down. But there, I think, is a way to do it. And by working together and finding common ground, when you have pragmatic heads prevail, that's how that will get done. But they need to be having conversations around how to improve the system, not necessarily just make giant cuts and hope for the best.
Democrats have a calling card here. Government shutdown is looming on March 14th. They are going to want to say in this bill, this is their way of doing it, perhaps, with threatening this government shutdown. How do you see that playing out?
Well, government shutdowns don't play well for anyone who decides to run with that as their argument. We know that in the past, Republicans have been burned time and time again by trying to do government shutdowns. So if the Democrats want to do that, they know what the cost is. And for a party that is without a majority in any House, Senate, or in the White House. I don't think that it's smart going into the midterms by saying, yep, they shut the government down. I don't think that bodes well with the American people, because we're the ones that feel the impact of that decision.
Well, if Republicans want this one big, beautiful bill, they have to figure out how to pay for it. That seems to be, right now, it is the biggest sticking point. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Mara Gillespie, thank you so much.